Hey Pursue family! Today we're going to start a multi-installment series on the Turkish Get Up. Now I'm not sure exactly what the oranges of the Turkish Get Up are. Feel free to Google it. Ostensibly it comes from Turkey, but it may also come from the little known country of Chicken, which is between a couple of mountain ranges over there in that other continent. So follow along, take your time. This is also not about trying to use soup cans to not lose your gains. This is an entirely other thing. You can do it here in the gym, you can do it at home. During the quarantine, after the quarantine, doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, and there's more than one way to do all things. So this is just simply one way to do the Turkish Get Up, or the chicken get up. Right, okay. So before we even get to the point where we're flopping around on the floor and trying to get up and get down with some big weight in our hand, let's talk about what's happening at the grip. So in order to perform a Turkish Get Up really effectively, you want to create a lot of tension in that fist right there. Now, we're all going to start with an empty fist like this, but eventually when you've got to implement, you'll squeeze the handle of that. Squeezing at the fist through a process called irradiation creates tension up the kinetic chain, i.e. your body, into the shoulder joint. The shoulder joint is a super mobile joint, but it's also really fragile. And being able to create tension in a bunch of different positions is part of what makes this such a juicy and effective exercise that carries over not only to the gym, but also to activities in real life, which happens out there, I think. So besides that tension at the hand, and again, that tension at the hand will carry up to the shoulder joint, we also want to envision connecting our shoulder joint to our body. So if the opposite of that is allowing your arm to flap around in space like this, imagine first squeezing the hand and then pulling your shoulder in. Now that is not necessarily taking your shoulder blade and locking it back and down, because you will not be able to lock your shoulder blade back and down in all positions. You need to be able to create tension in that shoulder joint without having it jammed here and here all the time. So keep that in mind as we move through the motion. Always, what's happening at the hand, and is your shoulder truly connected to the rest of your trunk or core, or whatever you want to call this area of your body. The starting position for a Turkish Get Up is the fetal position. It's sort of the starting position for all things if we think about it. So even here I'm going to create a lot of tension with my fist. I'm going to take my other hand and I'm going to cover that fist. I'm going to keep it close and keep it safe like Gandalf told me to do. I will now roll onto my back and press that fist up with both hands. We're going to extend the opposite leg. So this leg is still bent with my foot flat on the floor. Now this arm is going to come here out to the side. Where that exact position is will vary for each person, and you're just going to have to find out where that is for you. To give you guys a better idea of where that hand placement is, I decided that I should also film it from this angle. So here I'm in the fetal position. I'm very distraught over losing my gains. Now I'm going to roll onto my back, press both hands up. This leg is extending. When I said opposite leg, I meant opposite of the sort of loaded arm in this case. Now this arm again can come down wherever it needs to go. Keep in mind, even here, I am checking in with my grip. I am checking in with my shoulder. If I were to little brother you and come along and try to mess with your game here, I should not be able to move this hand. This thing is locked into place. So again, tension in the hand, connect that shoulder to the body, and here's our starting position, which may vary slightly depending on individual age. Okay folks, now that we've established our starting position, we're ready to actually get up. So I'm going to roll back onto my back and get to my starting position. Remember, I've got my tension points here at the fist, and I've connected my shoulder to the rest of my body. Again, you'll find exactly where this arm goes. Let's start at about 45 degrees. The first motion is actually pushing this foot into the ground. Now that is going to extend this hip. And hip extension is really important if you're a human and you want to move anywhere. If you can't extend your hips and you don't have wheels, you're not going anywhere. So we're going to extend that hip first. And almost simultaneously, I'm going to start pushing into the ground here with this arm. Pushing into the ground here and using this joint here to drive my foot into the floor is going to create a cool muscular tension through the body. And creating that tension, that coordination, is some of the juiciest part of the Turkish Get Up. Is just this. It's not very exciting, but man, this is gold. It's gold, Jerry, gold! So after our initial drive into the ground with this foot and this arm, we're going to just kind of continue up to the elbow. There is so much happening right there, it would take forever to truly unpack it. But I want you to pretend that you're pushing the floor away through this arm and elbow and through this leg. If you do that well, you will feel the tension through the body and you will be able to keep your arm vertical. Now, right now, we don't have anything in our arm, but eventually we're going to have load or we're going to have something we have to balance up there. And in order to do that well, we have to move our body and move against our base of support under this target or under this arm. This first part of the Turkish Get Up seems like it should be really easy and automatic, but it's not a crunch, it's not a sit-up. There's a big difference between driving through your limbs and maintaining sort of a long torso and just sitting up like this and then catching yourself on your elbow. Totally different deal. So one thing that helps a lot of clients of mine with this, so let's say we're just kind of walking along here. All right, we're just walking along. You can get down and sort of approximate the position, create the tension points, driving this arm down or driving this foot down, and then slowly coming down off of your elbow, trying to put on the brakes and resist yourself in gravity as much as possible with this leg. And that will help you determine how you actually come up from the ground onto that elbow. It's a really great trick. It's a good hack, as they say. Before we go much further, I just want to say that there's a lot to be gotten just from coming up to the elbow. A lot to be had just from coming up to the elbow. So just to come up to the elbow provides you a lot of opportunities to get better. Working that motion on the way down is awesome for the core. This is also a great way to introduce a pressing motion. If you've had an injury that results in you not being able to reach overhead without pain, try pressing from different angles. This is kind of similar to an incline press. So you can press soup cans, milk jugs, or actual weights in this position and get a lot of work for those muscles in a safe range of motion for you.